Trafficking is the severe exploitation of an individual through sexual exploitation or some sort of forced labor.
People are tricked or forced or abducted or threatened into situations against their will.
Victims can be anyone. They can be men, women, and children of any age, any nationality. They could even be a U.S. citizen.
Human trafficking is a very profitable industry and one of the fastest growing crimes in the world.
You can only sell a kilo of coke once. With these victims, you can make money off them again and again and again.
These are somebody's kids, somebody's parents, somebody's sisters or brothers that are being held in conditions that no American and no reasonable person in the world would find to be suitable.
As we all know, slavery has been outlawed for a very long time, but in fact this is modern-day slavery.
I came here when I was 17 years old, and I came here with a family from my country as their babysitter. When I got to this country, things were nice, but after a few months, things changed.
Many trafficking victims don't know that they've been trafficking victims. It's very hard for them to name what the problem is.
They start treating me bad, and I don't know, I don't have explanation for that.
A lot of the clients that come into a non-government organization for services may actually be trafficking victims.
They're never easy to identify. However, I think it'll be easier to look for something when you know what to look for.
So, how do you recognize a trafficking victim? I think there are some red flags. One is that the person seems to be under constant surveillance. They're watched. Someone's always with them.
I couldn't go nowhere. I couldn't have friends. I couldn't go to school.
So it's critical to get that person alone. Because even if they're with somebody who may say they're a friend, they may in fact be the trafficker or an affiliate of the trafficker.
When you talk to them, you have to ask them questions because they might not tell you anything at first. When you start asking them questions, you realize they were forced into doing this activity.
Other indicators, red flags of trafficking would be they've been working and yet they don't really know their way around. They live and work with their employer on the same premises.
I was scared about to leave from the house, to try to escape, because I thought, where I'm going, after the house, where I'm gonna go. I have no place to go. I don't know anybody.
There are some visible signs that you could maybe look for. A person who looks abused, maybe some bruises, a lot of medical neglect. Maybe you have untreated medical condition. Somebody who's very scared, who looks very intimidated, not looking at you in your eyes.
People may think that they're being attacked when they're not. So they may become irritable or inappropriately angry. They may have lost their ability to manage their anger emotions, their defensive emotions.
You need to try to find out whether or not they were held in a condition of compelled service in the past, or there's somebody who's recently been liberated who was in that situation, and then you have to open your toolkit to respond to their needs.
They took me to a shelter for 3 months. They were great people. That's why I'm here now, because they really, really helped me.
When a big oil pipeline manufacturer in Tulsa, Oklahoma, advertised job openings in India, dozens of skilled metal workers jumped at the chance. But instead of training for permanent employment, the men were treated like slaves, forced to live on factory premises, and paid less than $3 an hour. 52 men managed to escape and sought shelter and legal assistance with help from members of a nearby church.
When we encounter somebody who's just been freed from a traffic situation, their needs are the basic needs. They need food, they need shelter, they need clothing. Those things have to be provided.
52 people, they were living in the, 4 or 5 people living in the one room, different rooms. And people were donating the clothes, people were donating the TVs and the air conditioners and the, bed sheets and the blankets. And you can imagine 52 people needs. Everybody has a different need, everybody has a different requirements.
Trafficked persons have an overwhelming need for services, and the key is that each individual has such unique needs.
Another important aspect is the physical health. So the person needs to generally get a complete checkup, make sure that they're okay physically, that they don't have any communicable diseases.
Most trafficking victims have come here to make a better life, and they need to work, for example. So if that part is not taken care of, then it's going to be very difficult for them to make progress.
So you have to teach them things like taxes, how to fill out an application for employment, how to fill out a lease to rent a house, how to open a bank account, how to go food shopping, how to get a driver's license.
At my home in India, my wife, she got the threatening calls, and this says, your husband left the John Pickle Company. He has to go back and join the work. Otherwise, when he will come back, he will have a big trouble, big problem in India.
Trafficking victims are most often unaware that they have rights in this country, and through the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, which was passed in October of 2000, they do have rights extended to them, and they are eligible for certain benefits.
The Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 has 3 main goals: prevention, protection, and prosecution. The Trafficking Victim Protection Act gave us those tools to do victim-centered prosecutions where we can catch the bad guys but also protect their victims.
There is a process that trafficked persons go through called certification, and that comes when the law enforcement federal agents have deemed the individual as a victim of a severe form of human trafficking. Once they are certified, that individual is eligible for all sorts of benefits, same benefits as a refugee or a political asylee, which means cash assistance from the government, food stamps, they are work authorized, they can access Medicaid, Medicare services.
And everybody was scared because everybody paid a lot of money to come here in the United States. And we cannot go back to India under that circumstances.
Law enforcement has the option of filing for something called continued presence, which is a statement saying this person is a victim of trafficking and they are assisting me with my investigation. It's critical that they remain in the U.S. during my investigation or prosecution. Then they will have a temporary legal status while you're working to get a more permanent form of relief.
T visas are a longer-term immigration status that happens typically after the criminal case is done. It allows the victim to stay in the country and even bring their family to join them, to reunite the families. It's a very good way of making sure that the victims are not retaliated against by being deported back to the home country after they've cooperated with the investigation.
And it was a very exciting moment in my life. I seen my family, my wife and my son. Last year my wife said, the boy here in the United States, and now he's an American citizen.
While it's important to give the victims hope, you also can't tell them something that you can't deliver on. I think the most important thing to do is to give them the tools to make the decisions in their lives. Many of the early trafficking NGOs, the specialists who are now seen as the leaders in this field, started off as battered immigrant women service providers.
Safe Horizon expanded its mission to include human trafficking. We started to see a number of young women initially coming forward with these types of complex cases where they were undocumented, where they were being brought to New York or to the United States, having experienced crimes that would typically be described as trafficking.